Hello and welcome to Golden Droplets episode number 17. My name is Ricardo Valls. I'm the founder and principal of Valls Consultant. I'm also a PGO registered in the province of Ontario. And today we continue the mini series on unusual exploration and sampling techniques. We are at Wat Griffith and Macuet, and next to me I have my good friend Nik Paskalev, who is an expert in something that is not very common, geometrics. That's the right name?
Yeah, geomatics, geodesy.
Geomatics. Sorry, not geometric, geomatics.
Yeah.
So I would like you, Nik, to explain what do you do, what are some of the results that you have. The microphone is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Ricardo. It was very nice to see you again. And basically, geomatics, this is what we do. We compiling the data from different sources, geophysics, geology, from the field, from the satellite, from the different historical sources, and make them usable for us during the targeting the area, because when you want to do the exploration in the huge area, you spend a lot of resources. Once you decreasing the area, your success is much possible, because you concentrate on a small sizes.
So you do this at the beginning of the exploration work, before even the geologist go into the field?
Yes, basically, if it's possible, geophysics is very important in this kind of investigation, and geophysical interpretation as well, because this is one of the main sources of information, because you check for anomaly, all this stuff, which is not so uncommon in the geological exploration. But also what I'm doing, checking all the historical records, which is sometimes some maps which is old, like 150 years old, and some kind of reports from different geological surveys covering the specific area, because you understand, in Europe everything is very organized, but Africa and the other jurisdiction, the data is not structured very well, and when you start,
not everybody has a good geological, like Mexico, for example, which is perfect.
Yeah, that's mean you have to try to combine before the field visit as much as data you can, and decreasing the target area.
Let me ask you one thing. When you have, for example, an old map that is not digitized, like it's even like maybe even drawn by hand, how do you integrate that with a normal modern geophysical map that probably you have the digital information?
It's a very nice question. Depends what you have shown on a map. Basically, if you have some kind of geographical features, this is going to be the main things to you can use for the base. If you know, in our like 50-60 years ago, all the exploration grids was created in the local grid, a local coordinate system. It's not projected, it's not in the system, and you have collected so much data based on these local grids, exploration grids, and putting those things together, it's not so easy sometimes. You have
all the time.
Yeah, you have to basically check for a geographical feature. This is the main things. If you have any coordinates or something which is existing in our day, this will be the perfect one. Also, this will be the main things.
Do you have a preferred software to do the conversion between different coordinate systems. I, for example, use MapViewer from Golden Software, which is very, very simple. Even Surfer allows you to do, transformation of project. You have a project in latitude and longitude, and you can convert it to a UTM. But do you have something like that, or you use?
I'm using AutoCAD Map 3D for the conversion and compiling the data. But after that, I'm migrating all the databases, because this can be multiple sources of information, to ArcGIS S3 product, or QGIS, which is the open source free software. Very nice. And then continue building the database and creating some maps for the exploration geologist who is going to the field. And then if I wanna do a publish some maps, I'm using Corel.
Canadian.
Corel Draw is for the final presentation stage. When I'm doing the series of maps for different countries, this cannot be Corel. Corel is just for the custom maps. And when company wants to polish and prepare for the presentation for investors and 4311 reports, then the final products are in Corel, but between that you have multiple stages for different softwares I'm preparing.
So Nik, Geomatics.
Yes.
Geomatics. You start by compiling information from everywhere.
From whatever you're available.
And this information could be actually a map, or a digital data, or
reports,
etc.
This can be a results from some survey done 1909.
So that will take a long time.
But this is taking a long time, because you understand that it's not in the real coordinates, and until you match everything. A lot of time I am doing verification of the data, because especially on a drill hole data, because you can have one property with multiple companies and multiple owners during the last 100 years, and everybody is doing everything different way, and recording everything different way, and interpretation is completely different between multiple geologists, during the years. Once can see the iron, the other can see gold, somebody else can see, oh, this is very good for industrial minerals.
First step is compiling all the information. The second step will be compiling everything to have one unified geographical system, etc. What would be the third step?
The third one, which is for my site, is very important. I'm trying to find the regional geology, because regional geology in the specific area where you're working is very important from the point of view that you want to see the major structure. You know much better than me, because you're a very senior geologist, and also it's very important to see if the area where you're going to explore, somewhere around you have already existing mines, or showing, or occurrences, or abandoned mines, or artisanal workings, because this is going to be your first indicator that you're in
the right place.
In the right place.
As they say, the best place to find a mine is next to a mine.
Of course. The second, if it's possible, I can say geophysical data is very important, because you can see the anomaly which is not very visible, and you can decreasing your study area.
Do you use geochemical data if available?
Of 100%.
Because here in
Canada,
Canada,
very important.
here in Canada we do have the whole country covered by stream lake sediments,
Yes.
and there is a lot of free information.
It's a big data sets, and I think in some areas publicly available.
Yeah. I don't think that is the case in Africa.
No, no. In Africa, it's a little bit different. You know, some area are very limited in information. I have a case which we will study the specific area in Africa, and I was not able to find any data for this country.
Which we will not mention.
Yes, what I did, but the neighboring country was very well and good in advance in geological survey. I download the neighboring countries geological sets and overlay with the geophysical sets on the other side, and just the geological features are very visible. That means if you have a border, units are not stopping on a border.
Yeah,
as
I used to say, geology doesn't stop at the limit of your license.
Absolutely. And was one of the very good and success programs because they line up very well.
Well, I know for a fact that you recently received an award or an acknowledgement, a thank you from a country, actually a full country, on a work that you did. Was Mozambique?
Mozambique was a very successful project which is ongoing as well at the moment. We have I finished full set of Mauritania, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I was working, and this is the mapping program, which are national. It's not a small areas. Rwanda, Uganda. I was working in Morocco for the government 15 years ago. Ireland was 18 years ago.
So you have a great database.
Sort of. I just finished last year Democratic Republic of Congo, Burkina Faso, and this is the national. Basically, I'm producing the national maps of those jurisdictions which I mentioned, which are going to be used in the geological surveys.
That is why I was thinking of doing this interview with you, because not everybody understands the importance of doing what you're doing, the collecting the material, the putting everything into one system, and then interpret the big regional features. This helps the exploration work. And on a side note, I have used some of your pictures on my 43101s in Mozambique. Thank you very much.
Oh, welcome.
And it's really nice. I hope that you can show us some of the maps later at your computer. But one question that I assume people may have now, we're talking about big territories. Will this work for a smaller area? Like I am the president of a junior company that have a license of, I don't know, 3-4 square kilometers. Will this help me?
Definitely, because imagine if you have a small license, which is 10 kilometers, 5 kilometers, one way, and you're in jurisdiction which you're not very familiar what happened 20, 30 kilometers around you, and it's very possible. Those information is gonna be very helpful, and basically for investors, I'm sure before acquiring the licenses, they're for sure they downloading or buying the national maps from the geological surveys of different countries, which is the normal normal way to approach. It's the other way as well. If you are on the field, if you see something, you're
You map.
professional, you do a mapping, which is the other way to approach as well. But for me, this is very important, and I'm sure as a professional geologist, you know very well that this is an important thing. As much information you have in your table, this is your decision is going to be much accurate, because everybody is looking for accuracy and for decreasing the cost.
The reason I'm mentioning the size that the next Golden Droplets episode it will be about lineament analysis, which is something that I developed with my colleague Dr. Vadim Galkin. And for us, there is a limit on the size of the project because just pure geometrics. If you have a small license, let's say you have a circular structure, and you have a small license, the circular structure could look like a lineament, like a main lineament, like a straight line. So that's why we really need more areas. I mean, for us, 25, 50 square kilometers, that is actually the minimum size that we can work with. But I assume that you are looking for also for the big structures.
Yeah, for the big structures, and basically in this maps I mentioned also I'm trying to incorporate all the historical work, which is also very important, like old mines and everything else.
I will put a link to Nik's email. So in the future, if you really need help with this kind of work, you can contact him directly. This is one of the services that Watt Griffith and McQuad offer to the world.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
now you have all your data. You have collected all. What is the next step?
The next step is somebody who is the geologist have to review the data, because I'm not geologist. I'm geodesy geomatic engineer, which is I'm good compiling the data, preparing the data, but somebody like you have to see and review the data, and preparing in this way, I'm going to save you lots of time for the expert, and after the reviewing you can mark the area where you think it's a good targets, and then we are going to the field and checking what's going on, if this is going to be the same.
And I assume the reason why the government of Mozambique is sending you the thank you letter is that they went to the field to check and they were pleased with what they saw there.
Yeah, this is a still ongoing project, how I mentioned, and the letter was from the colleagues which I'm working with. They are from in this project are the people which are involved from French Geological Survey and from UK, British Geological Survey, and Canadian company, which is also involved and managing the process. And what was the letter was that the information we prepare and we create are very corresponding to the real situation on the field,
to what they saw
on the ground. Of course, because it's a regional stuff, small structure or small things are change, which is a normal, you know.
And the fact is, you have not been there. You have done the work from 1,000 miles away, correspond 90% to the reality. So it's really a useful tool for exploration, and I hope that this video will help other people to start doing the thing, contact you, look on the internet, etc.
So in Congo is the same.
Yeah.
After we produced the maps, and there was multiple discovery.
Great.
In the area which was covering our maps, and this is a public information. Nothing is secret, because most of the companies are listed on the stock exchange, and it's good, successful for a program which, how you mentioned, is done from so many miles away.
Ways. So the final product will be like a map with a legend and its planetary nodes, etc., and it will be one map or a series of maps.
It's going to be a big series of maps covering one quadrant.
What
That's
size is a quadrant?
200,000, 150,000, 50,000. We producing different scale, depends on the data. For example, if you have a very good data set as a base, you can make 50,000 scale maps, but in 50,000 with a very regional data set, 50,000 is going to be not a proper scale for a final product.
Mm-hmm.
That means between 250 to 50,000 is the range, but most of the time we're doing 200,000, 1 to 200,000 and 1 to 250,000. This is the original, the first series of maps we're producing. And after that, after the first series, if some targets was identifying, was the next stage of, is going to the continuation of the study in those quadrants or area or where is the interest, and then we're going to 50,000 to 100,000 after the more investigation was done in the area. But basically this is the process.
So Nik, I hope that you can show us something in your computer, some of the maps. But before that, is there anything else that you would like to say about geometrics?
Oh, this is because
for example, if somebody is a young student, it's at the university, it's about to graduate, maybe he would be interested in doing this. How you become a geometrix?
First of all, have to finish the program, which is geodesy, geomatics engineer, which is a 5-year master degree. I have master degree, and after that you need a lot of experience if you want to stay in the mining cadastre like me and mining sector, because usually most of my colleagues are in the land registry offices, which is dealing with the parcels and with the condos, with apartments and all this
which is important too, but
which is
not,
very important,
but not as good and interesting as geology.
I'm mostly in the concession, in the mining concession and the mining sector. What else I want to mention as well? My company is developing, which is World Geomaps, at the moment in the process, a special platform which is in real time is collecting categorization, geolocation, all the mining activity which are publicly available in entire world. That means if you have a private mine, I have no data, have no access to this area, but we have a very big variety of data sets from many countries. My personal experience I have in 90 countries around the globe. But you understand that the main programs, like the country, when I'm doing the maps for the entire country, there are not so many. Just those which I mentioned. Maybe I forgot to mention Nigeria as well. But as I experience, more than 90 countries.
Well, there you have it, folks. And if you are planning of doing new work in Africa or elsewhere, contact Nik before. Maybe he has some data that will be useful for your work. So,
Thank you.
can we check your computers? Show us
Sure.
some of the maps?
Yeah, definitely.
Let's go there.
Okay, let me show. Usually, this is the original or some kind of historical information, which is black and white and not much coordinates and stuff like that. You see, you have to basically do all this georeferencing and everything based on topographical features, and this can be one of the final products, which are this is geological, this is geophysical, and if you zoom it here in this area very good, very close, you can see the difference between geophysical survey. Basically, this is much more detailed area, and this is much more regional area. This is North Ontario, and this is the same area, regional geology with the main structures. This is what we do in WGM, and
That's it.
small. This is a small showing for you. And next time I'm gonna show you much more.
Okay.
I can show you the regional, because after I have confirmation that I can, because the country-wise maps are, I don't have rights to show to anybody until I have permission. I can show you the country-wise maps as a templates, and we can continue discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nik.
Thank you.